Welcome to the first episode of the Hindsight and Hot-takes podcast. I'm your host, Connor Gisclair. I'm here with Brogan Burns. Brogan is an award-winning sports writer here at Nicholls. Opening weekend is finished, college baseball fans. Before we get into all things college baseball, we'll start with NFL news. Obviously, Brogan, Saints hired a new head coach last week, Kellen Moore. What are your thoughts about him?
Boise State GOAT right there, but
Beat Derek Carr in college.
and he's about to kick Derek Carr out of the NFL. But we'll talk about that some other time. But yeah, I think as it was said earlier in the head coaching search, when it looked like everybody else was going to get a coach, and the Saints were just behind on everything, we needed somebody who was desperate for a coaching job, and I think Kellen Moore was a guy that was desperate for a coaching job, a head coaching job. Not because he was bad at his job or he needed something to prove, but because no one had given him a chance in the past. I mean, he was with the Cowboys for like 5 years, and Jerry Jones just was like, nope, you're not getting a chance. Even when fucking, what's the other dude, his first coach that he had the couple years ago, before, McCarthy. Whatever, the red-headed dude. But, even when he went 8-8 and Jones fired him, he didn't go with Moore. He went with Mike McCarthy, a guy who had proven he can't win a Super Bowl either. So, I mean, this was maybe a match made in heaven for the Saints. I don't know about Kellen Moore being the job he wanted, but he's a head coach nonetheless now.
I feel, obviously, Kellen Moore's always had that standout player in his offense. Obviously had it with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I mean, that team basically used Saquon Barkley to lead them to victory. Obviously, with the Saints right now, you lack that on offense. Without getting too deep into it, your first round pick, the number 9 overall pick, where do you think they go? You think they go to help Kellen Moore's offense, or you think they just go best player available?
I think my kind of cold take right here would be go with a wide receiver or somebody in a skill position that can maybe play in the slot, in the backfield right now. Or you go the defensive end right there, which would be another, I guess, cold take, because that's kind of what everyone expects them to do.
Yep.
But I think more of a warm take, you go with Will Campbell. Put him on the line. That's a very good player on the offensive line.
LSU alum right there.
They don't usually take LSU players at New Orleans, as you know. But I think he would be automatically either one or two, their number 1 or 2 offensive linemen on the team.
No, obviously right now that position's a little filled. You had in college, Will Campbell played left tackle, starting tackle for LSU for all 3 years. Obviously for the Saints right now, you got Fuaga, was one of the best tackles in the whole league. Where do you think they move him? Or is it his job to lose?
I think you can leave Fuaga there or move him wherever he wants to be at this point, but you can just put Will Campbell in about any position on that offensive line, and he's going to succeed.
I know, obviously, he's a little bit undersized for the tackle position, but you're the best tackle in the SEC for 3 years.
Absolutely.
I feel like SEC track record into the NFL with tackles has been pretty decent. It's been a hit every single year. So I think he's going to work well in that offense.
I think my hot take for this draft would be either you would trade up to get Cam Ward right here. You make a big splash, you get your Jalen Hurts guy, your Dak Prescott guy that can run a little bit more than Rattler can, and that's what you've worked with your entire career. If you're Kellen Moore, maybe that's what you want to go for.
I personally think you have that on the team right now with Rattler. I think he has the arm talent as good as anybody in the league. I know, the tape so far this year has been he hasn't shown a lot, but obviously when you're throwing to, no offense, a bunch of guys off the streets, receivers, it's kind of tough to be successful. So I doubt they go quarterback in the first round. I don't think any quarterback falls to them that they would really,
You'd have to trade up, obviously.
Yes.
I think that's big splash right there. But you don't have to start him right away, is my point.
Okay.
You can let Rattler be serviceable for 2-3 years and then let Ward go. Or maybe let him go next year once you realize Rattler is not the guy you thought he was, if that happens.
Who knows? Draft is about a month away. We'll find out. So, more with Saints news. According to Ian Rappaport, the Saints are unlikely to re-sign Taysom Hill because he's set to have a $17 million cap hit against their salary. What are your thoughts on that, Brogan?
Saints already in what has been cap hell for 5 years, I think.
It's been a hot
minute. Since that
minute.
2018 season.
Good old Mickey Loomis.
They've been in the deep. They've been in the big fires. And I think a player like that, an old Taysom Hill, he's still got some good years left in him. But is that cap hit worth it? I really don't think so.
I just think for a 34-year-old Swiss Army knife type player, I don't think Kellen Moore is looking to have that in his offense. So we'll see the future with Taysom Hill. I loved him, his time with the Saints, but if it's, $17 million is a lot of money when you're in a deep hole like the Saints are. So.
I do think Taysom Hill would restructure his contract, though, if they really wanted him.
My whole thing about the restructuring is no matter what, you're going to have to pay him the money. And it's one of those things where you just keep dragging it out. Eventually, you're going to have to pay this player. Yeah. I really don't think that's the best thing for them currently.
Once he can take a pay cut, we can keep him. But we'll see.
So that's all we have for NFL news. Now, college baseball opened this weekend. First, we'll talk about a little bit about LSU. They played Purdue Fort Wayne Friday night. Cade Anderson got the start. Then Ianson on Saturday. Chase Shores on Sunday. That LSU pitching staff is special. Just through one series, 27 innings pitched a .67 ERA, only allowed 2 runs in 3 games, and 45 strikeouts. That is the most from an opening staff from LSU since 1992. Obviously, they're traveling here to Nicholls Wednesday. What are your thoughts on that, Brogan?
I think Nicholls is going to be where we see who LSU truly is right here. Because you play Purdue Fort Wayne, not a good team. Then you go play Southern the next game, a team Nicholls has beaten by 20 runs sometimes. Then you get Nicholls, which is probably the best team you played yet. So I think this, maybe not an SEC-type test, but this is the first test to see, are they going to be a ranked team this year?
Obviously, bouncing back to Nicholls, that first game, hard-fought victory. You're down 3 in the 8th inning. Then you put up a 5 spot against a talented NIU team. Then, obviously, Saturday, you take that game easily 10-2. Have another good pitching performance from your starter. And then Sunday happens. You lose 21-2. You run out of pitching completely. You let go 2 grand slams towards the later part of the game. Talk about that a little bit.
Obviously, when you've got almost an entirely new roster and you've got all of your pitchers from last year, what seems to be performing great wherever they are. An old guy that we had, Michael Cavedo, is at Kansas State right now. I think he went 4 innings with only 1 run allowed at a Big 12 school. So when you're losing pitching like that, and he wasn't even...
He was what?
He was your day 3, maybe weekday starter.
He was a Sunday starter. He was a Sunday starter.
He wasn't your ace, and when you lose something like that, it's hard to get it back. And then, obviously, in that 8th inning, first guy gives up, 3-4 runs?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of sets the tone for the rest of the inning. Because he's rattled. Then you bring another guy in who's rattled. And then it ends up, he doesn't get any outs right there. So you bring in another guy who ends up being rattled. Gets you out of the inning, but damage is already done. So we just got to see what he does with his pitching staff. You got to change things around. And he's been doing that with the batting lineup. So we'll see.
Okay, obviously, tomorrow, play Omaha at home. Omaha's taking a stop here, then traveling to Baton Rouge for a weekend series against the Tigers. Omaha, they didn't look too impressive their opening weekend. Talk about that a little bit.
I think Omaha goes 0-8 in Louisiana.
Wow.
I think they're gonna.
Wow.
They already lost 3 games to Tulane, and Tulane is a very beatable team for even Nicholls. So I don't see where Omaha stands as big a good chance if we can tune up the pitching and not bring those same guys who messed up. Or maybe they'll get a little bit better. They'll kind of be able to control their emotions. They'll go through some exercises this week to control their emotions. And maybe we do have great pitching again like we had in those first 2 games. But I don't know if Omaha can beat even a team of Nicholls' caliber right now.
Okay, jumping back to LSU. Obviously, former Colonel Jacob Mayers has the chance to pitch against us on Wednesday. You think Jay Johnson pulls that card?
I think it's going to be because he's the best guy to start. With Jay Johnson, he's not going to give a guy a revenge tour or whatever here. So if Jacob Myers is the best guy to start, you got to watch out as a Nicholls fan because, I mean, obviously, he was our ace. If he's good enough to start at LSU, what does that say?
We'll see what happens. Okay, moving on. Former LSU Tiger Alex Bregman signs a 3-year, $120 million, yes, you heard that correctly, $120 million contract with the Boston Red Sox. Brogan, what's your opinions on that?
From an Alex Bregman perspective, ka-ching. I mean, you made a whole lot of money. But from a Red Sox perspective, I mean, what are you doing? What are you thinking there, giving him that much money?
$40 million. No offense to Alex Bregman, but $40 million, you should be the best of the best. I'm not saying he's not a great player, but, I mean, offensively, as of late, the pop hasn't been there. I understand in that, in that field in Fenway, he's a pull hitter to left field, so that's going to help his swing. But he had that in Minute Maid with the Crawford boxes, and last year he only hit 8 home runs.
I mean, giving Bregman that money really makes... It's basically saying he's this Joe Burrow guy for the Red Sox. When he's not, the Red Sox already have their guys, I think. They have those guys that are larger than life right now, and I don't think Bregman is that at this point in his career.
I think my whole thing is $40 million a year for a guy that's playing second base for you.
Who can't hit that well.
Who's not going to hit 20 home runs for the rest of his career. I understand it's only it's a 3-year deal. It's very low risk, high upside, but at the end of the day, it's $40 million a year. That hurts any team. And for a guy that he's not one of your best 2 hitters. I mean, he's not Rafael Devers. He's not Jarren Duran. I mean, realistically, best on that team, he's probably hitting 5th. So, I love the guy. Great for him. Former LSU alum. But $40 million a year for a guy that probably will never hit over 20 home runs for the rest of his career, that's a stretch.
I mean, I do have to say there's a chance he could get like a Gold Glove or something playing there at third base.
But $40 million
life
for a Gold Glove?
That's not enough. That's too much. If he's not going to hit, I mean, sure, you get the Gold Glove, but can you hit?
We'll see. Obviously, being a Yankee fan, I don't want him to succeed, but who knows? Great for him. He got his bag. Love to see that former LSU alum, Alex Bregman. Okay, we'll move into our next segment, predictions for the week. First, we'll start off with Nicholls. Nicholls, Omaha, tomorrow at the Did. What's your score prediction for that game, Brogan?
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game right here. I think I could see Nicholls winning like 12-10 right here. Midweek game, that's going to be a lot of scoring, probably. So,
after what we saw in that Sunday game against NRU, I agree. I got the Colonels winning 12-8 in a close one. Okay? Then obviously, big game for Nicholls on Wednesday. The number 2 team in the country, Jay Johnson, number 1 transfer portal, number 1 recruiting class, coming to the Did on Wednesday. What's your score prediction for that game, Brogan?
I think Nicholls stays within... If they lose, they're within 8 points. If they win, it's going to be within 1 or 2 points like last time we saw that. But I do think they stay in the game. They don't get run ruled.
That offense, top to bottom, LSU didn't really, they only had 3 to 4 home runs throughout the whole team, throughout the whole weekend. So obviously it's different from last year on the power side, but you still got Bear Jones. You still got amazing hitters 1 through 9 on that team. That game Sunday just rattled me for Nicholls. I think Nicholls gets run ruled, honestly. I'm sad to say it. But I really don't think they stand a chance.
I do gotta say that you go back to Mike Silva's first year, he lost a series against Missouri. He lost pretty bad. 1-3, he lost. I know they lost by at least 10 points in one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really not worried about losing that NIU game by so much because we made a regional that year.
We'll see what happens, obviously. Nicholls, that's how you get your name on the map. You, number 2 team in the country, travels into your house. If you're able somehow to take them down, especially if your former ace, one of the best pitchers ever to come to Nicholls, pitches against you, and you could pull that game off, the headlines would write themselves. So, that is everything we have on the first episode of the Hindsight and Hot-takes podcast. I'm your host, Connor Gisclair. I'm here with Brogan Burns. Thank you for listening.
Hindsight's got the view, hot takes cutting through.